we're pretty adamant about safety.
Great, thank you so much. I'm directing a play right now in Florida, and Monday will be the first time I'll be in a theater since last March.
Yeah.
Wear your mask.
Yeah.
I will, and the actors are all wearing masks, and
there's a lot of women in that show.
Yes.
Are they going to wear masks for the performance?
Yes, we have masks that match their costumes, and microphones so that we can hear them.
Yes.
Oh,
I love it.
And I have to block them socially distance. I'm going to have to teach the students to move before they talk, because with 9 people on stage, how do we know who's talking? So,
yep.
What a cool challenge.
Yeah.
I loved costuming that show. Just saying.
Oh, thanks.
What show is it?
It's called As It Is in Heaven. It's about Shakers in Kentucky in 1838.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's the first full-length I wrote after Last Train to Nibroc.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's a 20th anniversary production. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
It opened 3 days after 9/11 in New York, so it's appropriate that we're doing it during this upheaval. Yeah.
All right. Jeremy says we're live and it looks good. So I'm going to wait till my clock says 6:45 and then I'll start introducing people. Okay. Says it. Robin, where'd you go? Robin. Okay. Mark, I love that you're sitting amongst the skirts and the blouses. All right. It's 6:45. If you are here watching our live presentation, welcome. I am Beth Eslick from Conejo Players Theatre. I'm the executive producer, and we are here with the playwright of Last Train to Nibroc, Arlene Hutton. This is Arlene. And our director of the show, Elena Mills. Our stage manager, Mark Suarez. And our 2 fabulous actors, Emilyrose Morris and Jeff Lawess. And our brand new media director, Robin Rassell.
Hi, so just welcome Kelly and Joan. Good to see you joining.
All right. So, Emilyrose and Jeff, anything you want to ask? Elena, anything you want to ask? Go for it now.
I would like to ask this question. I know you wrote it before you read the play, and of course I read everything, but a lot of people probably will never know why you started this trilogy, because this is a trilogy, so we are just doing the first part of it. But can you please tell us what inspired you?
Well, what inspired me? I was reading a biography of S.J. Perlman, an American humorist in the 1900s, and there was this little fact in there that his brother-in-law, Nathaniel West, the novelist, had died within 3 days of F. Scott Fitzgerald. And it's likely their bodies were on the same train. Certainly Nathaniel West's body was on the train that Sheila Graham was on. So it's likely that, and she of course had been F. Scott Fitzgerald's mistress, and so she was presumably was accompanying the body to the East Coast. And I just thought that was fascinating that these 2 great American novelists, one more toward the middle or end of his career, and the other one a young up-and-coming novelist, were on the same train. And I had done a one-woman show about Zelda Fitzgerald, so I knew a lot about Fitzgerald and was interested in that. But I didn't want to write a play about Fitzgerald, and so I thought, who else might be on that train? And I put a young woman and a young man on it in my mind, and I based it loosely on my parents, who would have been falling in love about the same time in 1940.
It's wonderful, and it's such a fascinating story. I can tell you this story just captured my heart and soul from the first time I read your play. I cannot thank you enough for writing it and for letting us to do it.
Well, they're very sweet characters, aren't they? Yeah, this play probably means the most of anything I've ever written. It's very heartfelt, and it's full of family details. The story is fiction, but there's a lot of family fact in there. My mother really did go to Asbury College. She really was a high school principal at the age of 21 during the war. My uncles really did hide in the back seat of the car on my parents' date. My father made a bet with his brother that he could get a date with my mother. So all those things are true, but the story itself is fiction. My father actually did fight in World War II. He was in the Battle of the Bulge, where he distinguished himself by when they were so hungry during that winter time when they couldn't get food to the soldiers. He managed to catch a chicken, wring its neck, pluck it, and cook it, and he and a couple of his buddies ate a chicken. So that's a real Kentucky farm boy, kind of thing to do.
You're not from Kentucky though, so why Kentucky?
My parents were from Kentucky, and I go back 5 generations on all 4 sides. So Kentucky is my roots, even though I was born in Louisiana and grew up in Florida. But Kentucky was always home because that's what it was to my parents. So I always heard stories about Kentucky, and we spent a lot of vacations there.
Hutton.
Yeah, Emma Rose.
I was wondering, when you started to write Last Train to Nibroc, did you know that it was going to be a full-length play when you
No,
started writing?
no, the first scene was actually a 1-act, and I thought that was it. I'd never written a full-length play at that time. And I was part of a little group. I was writing some 1-acts. I was part of a small theater company called Alice's Fourth Floor, an off-Broadway company in the early 90s, and I was an actor in the company. And there were some amazing playwrights that I was influenced by at that time who were part of the company. Teresa Rebeck, there was a woman writing these monologues about vaginas who was part of the company. You know who that is, Eve Ensler, now known as V. And so it was kind of a hotbed of activity. Warren Light was part of the group. He went on to be a showrunner for Law and Order. And so I started writing plays so I could be in them. And so I wrote some 1-acts, went to Edinburgh a couple times with friends doing the 1-acts, did the first year of the New York Fringe Festival. But this play, I was writing it for a specific actor or an actress that was part of the company. And so I wrote this 1-act version, and we took that to Edinburgh with some 1-acts, and it didn't quite fit into the other ones, which were contemporary. And the director and I looked at it and said, there's a longer play here. And so within a year, we were workshopping the full-length version.
May I ask what the first 1-act looked like?
Exactly the first scene that you have.
Really?
Wow.
That was a 1-act version. And that same version was recorded as a 1-act for Playing on Air, which is a wonderful podcast featuring a lot of plays by well-known playwrights and a lot of actors you would recognize from film and television. In fact, the performers for that were Greg Mazzola, who's a wonderful actor, well-known in New York. And May, the part you're playing, Emily Rose, was played by Mamie Gummer, who is Meryl Streep's daughter. And that's a podcast version of the play. Yeah.
You got some big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And then I didn't know it was going to be a trilogy. I finished the first play, and then I got a chance to go to a big theater conference, and I needed a play to work on. And this was in Australia, actually. So I wrote the second play in Australia and workshopped it there. And then the second play, the ending is a little ambiguous, so then I had to write a third play.
Oh.
I have a question.
Mhm.
The epilepsy,
Yes.
where did that come from?
As I was writing it, I needed a reason for him to be leaving the service, and I didn't want him to have been injured. It was, this is really before the U.S. entered the war when the first scene took place, so I wanted a reason for him to be going back to Kentucky, and I, was thinking what kind of illness could he have or something, and I came up with that, because it would be something that wouldn't necessarily be visual, but would be certainly something that would keep him from flying an airplane in the service. And so then when I was writing the second scene, I was typing along and I was typing and I was thinking, oh my gosh, they just keep talking. They keep talking. Something's got to happen. And I go, oh, he's got epilepsy. Here, have a fit. And so I didn't know. I come from an improv background, so I just put characters in a room and let them start talking. And then later on, I revise and find more conflict and raise the stakes and do all those playwriting things that we do. So I didn't know how the play was going to end. I had no idea, and I don't want to give anything away, but the ending was as big a surprise to me as it was to the audience, as it is to the audience these days. Yeah.
You just said that a lot of it was improv. Have you been doing a lot of improv yourself, and that kind of lended itself to the writing?
Yes, I've done competitive improv for some years, theater, sports, and games and things, and then getting into more long form. I was an actor before I was a playwright, and so for me, writing is like doing improv in my head.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's one thing I was gonna mention about this play, is that this one stood out to me other than any other play I've done, is because it felt so conversational. Everything they said felt like it flowed so naturally. And I love hearing about your process because it makes so much sense. It seems like if you take a snippet of it, it seems like a seemingly mundane conversation, but then it's not until you see it as a whole piece and there's callbacks to certain things that it all has such a weight to it. I just love hearing about your process. I like that.
Well, of course, in improv, we do reincorporation. Whatever you set up at the beginning of a scene, as many things as possible you want to pay off at the end of the scene. If you look at whose line is it anyway, those guys are masters at, we've even forgotten about the cat in the beginning of the scene until he brings it back. And then it's very satisfying the audience. So it's kind of a after, if you've done a lot of improv, you just kind of do that naturally.
So when you will watch our show, and I hope you will, they will start improvise because they may forget something. You will be okay, right?
I can't improvise. I can improvise. And of course, that's the thing. When the times that I perform my own work, if I forget a line, for me it's a rewrite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh.
Nice.
How often have you performed your own work?
The first few years I was a writer, I did that. Every play I wrote, I was in it. And
was it hard to not be in it and watch others perform it?
At first it was. That's a great question. At first it was, but this was the first play I didn't write a part for me, and so I enjoyed so much just sitting back and not having to remember all those words, So I love being a playwright. I don't have to audition. I don't have to have a good hair day. I don't, I don't have to worry about getting older and, all those things.
My husband says that all the time when he directs. He says, this is so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do want to say, if you are watching us on Facebook and you have a question for Arlene, you can type it in and Robin will make sure that we ask that question for you. Just want to say that. Mark, as stage manager, is there anything you have a question about?
Oh, not as stage manager. So Arlene, since your background is improv, when you're trying to devise a new piece, do you start out pen and paper or do you start out with a voice recorder and just improv?
I pen and paper, well, or computer keyboard. I can't read my own handwriting, so I'm using a keyboard. I rarely dictate into the recorder unless I'm walking inside the park and come up with a great idea.
I see.
Yeah. Thanks. Jeff has a question, I think.
Yes. So as a multi-hyphenate artist, being a director, an actor, a writer, which do you feel the most passionate about? Or are they all equal, which I love?
No, playwriting. Definitely playwriting. I hadn't acted in a long time until this year, and suddenly I've done a bunch of Zoom plays and online workshops and gotten paid as an actor for the first time in quite a long time. In fact, my friend Joe Spano and I did a 10-minute play on Zoom, which was really fun to do with him. But no, playwriting, that's who I am. I'm a playwright, and that's who I am as a theater artist, and that's still the most exciting thing to me to do is to create the blueprint and then get in the room and collaborate with the actors and the director. Yeah.
You said that Jeff and Emilyrose looked perfect. Why is that?
Speak up again, Emilyrose. Let me look at you guys.
Stand up. Stand up, guys.
There's just, the moment I met you, there was and just a freshness and an eagerness and an openness, which meant to me as an actor, you can find the things, because May is none of those things, but I could just see you in a period costume, both of you. It just felt right.
I just want to tell you, we had a lot of people auditioning, almost 30 people audition for the play. Wow. Because now everybody missing theater so much. And it was a very hard decision to make, of course, because it was a lot of very talented people. But I read and reread your play so many times, and I already created the characters which I want to see. And when these two came to audition, these two people whom I really, really love and appreciate and respect their hard work, and they auditioned together, I thought, well, that's all. That happened, and it's really happening. And I just cannot tell you how happy and how I am complete with these people, because of course I'm reading your story from my perspective, from my character, from my life story, but Jeff and Emilyrose just doing it exactly how I feel toward this story.
There's a question from Joselina. Do you enjoy seeing the different ways the characters are portrayed with each production, or do you get frustrated because you think they should be played a certain way?
Oh, I love seeing different interpretations. That is so, it's so great to go to a production and as I know this place so well, but find an actor that finds a new moment that I haven't seen before or thought of before, or to see an actor, discover the moment I know is there and have always wanted it to be. No, I love seeing different productions of this play, and I have, and I've seen it done, with two African Americans doing it, with Black actors. As long as it's simple and honest, it's going to work. I've seen a couple productions I disagreed with, but they were a little bit, over the top, or a young actor who was so nervous that when the audience laughed, he looked at them. But most of the productions have been have worked for me. If you just treat it at face value, it works.
And for those that weren't on right when we joined, we were fortunate to get some live script edits from Ms. Hutton before everyone came on, which was sort of fun for everybody. So there's another question for our actors. They noticed you don't have masks on, and I know that we kind of went through the COVID protocols you were going through before we went live. So do you want to just kind of address that quickly?
Yeah. This has kind of been our social bubble for the past month. And we've been socially distancing and isolating outside of rehearsals. And we do take COVID tests at least weekly. I know I try to take more than one a week, and be careful as much as we can. And I'm glad that Conejo is able to bring theater back in a kind of a happy medium, like being able to be on a stage with set props, costumes, with minimal people, but in a safe way without an audience, and being brought to you live through cameras.
Thanks. Beth, that's all the Facebook questions that we have now. So if anyone has any other questions, then I'll throw it back to you.
Go ahead, Mark.
One just came to me, Miss Hutton. Considering we're doing this as a broadcast, have you ever seen or considered it as a film or in that sort of medium?
Yeah, and a couple of people through the years have approached me about that, and even making a musical. You know, I think the whole trilogy could be a miniseries, but you know, nobody's banging down my door to ask me to write those scripts. So you know, but who knows?
Let's do it.
Digitaltheater.com recorded the Rubicon Theater productions, all three of them, and so that's been fun to see that on streaming. But that, you know, it is the theater production, it's streaming, but those were the productions that got a lot of Ovation Awards, several Ovation Awards, and certainly a lot of nominations. So that's fun to have a record of some productions that I liked. Yeah.
Rubicon does a lot of very good work.
Yeah, they do. But yeah, I'd love to see it as a movie, and you know, it's about a whole town. You know, it really opens up if you start thinking about that. The Nibroc Festival itself could be really fun scenes and stuff. Emma Rose, what?
I was wondering, do you feel like you have completed this story?
I do. There's a lot of people disagree with me, and they want they want a fourth play, but that would kind of destroy some of the things that happen in the third play. I have thought about writing a piece that kind of happens somewhere in the middle, and calling it a Nibroc Christmas, because Christmas plays are really popular around the country. And I think if I wrote a Nibroc Christmas, I might make quite a bit of money. Especially if it involves a Christmas carol. But
I'd pay to see it.
Yeah.
You got a ticket sold here.
I'd pay to be in it.
That's bribery, Emilyrose. No.
I have a question for the actors. What's it like wearing these characters? What are some of your favorite things, moments, or what are you getting out of this?
I have so many. I just love. I love how smart he and quick-witted he is, and playful and positive this character is.
Nailed him. I've got to see this production. It's going to be great. Yeah.
No, I there was something drawn to it from day one when I read the breakdown, because I hadn't heard of it actually before auditioning, and just something about the name Raleigh just hit, and I'm like, I started reading the sides, and I connected so well to it, and it just flowed so naturally, and I don't think I've ever had a play script hit me like that.
Wow, it's nice to hear.
Oh.
Yeah.
Emily Rose.
I think what's so interesting, going off of improv and going off of the idea that this is so conversational, it's one of the only plays I've read, or scripts. This is the second play I've ever done in my life, but it's it's the most fluid script in conversation together. And there's so many little funny moments that they have of just not understanding each other. And he is just constantly making fun of her. And sometimes it will go over her head. And it's very real life. That just makes it so fun. And I love the line that he has where he says, "Oh, you have to read Nathaniel West sometimes." It's my favorite line of the entire show. I love it.
I love that you're finding the humor in it. It's subtle sometimes, and but you know, he's loosely based on my dad. My dad was like Andy Griffith. If you remember those old Andy Griffith shows, my dad was just the best guy in the world, and everybody confided in my dad, and you know, he would try to solve problems and stuff. And there's a kind of Kentucky guy that he and my uncles were that you know, they deflect everything with humor, you know. So it's like, you know, honey, just go ahead and be mad. Just go ahead and be mad, honey. It's all right, you know, and just never letting anything really bother them until that moment it does. And I love Raleigh. You know, I love what you said about Raleigh, because Raleigh does always use humor, which you've mentioned, and he is kind and gentle. And a lot of young actors, you know, want to go for anger. You know, they want to be the angry young man, and that's not Raleigh. You know, he is optimistic, even faced with, you know, the bad things, and he never turns it on her. He turns it on himself if he's, you know, unhappy about something. Yeah.
As a real man has to do.
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. And May, although the facts deal with my mother, her personality is a lot more like me. You know, she speaks first and thinks later, and things, you know, like she says, things just fly out of my mouth, and she'll say like something horrible, and it's like, oh, I didn't say it, you know. So it's I think the two of them together are so fun, and we're really rooting for them. We really hope we get together. And when I was writing the play, when I started writing the second scene, and I knew that the structure of the play was boy meets girl, boy loses girl, but I really didn't know what the ending would be. I had no idea until I saw it on the screen. Just kind of wrote itself.
I will say the first rehearsal I saw was day 3, I think. And Jeff and Emily Rose seriously felt to me like they already knew every nuance of their characters already. I mean, they were just, it was like it was just kind of part of them already on day 3.
Wow.
So, Elena, you did a fabulous job choosing these two.
Yeah. So I was going to say that's a tribute to Elena's casting ability. Yeah.
But I just want to say that first couple of weeks we had Zoom rehearsals. And because we had Zoom rehearsals, we had opportunity to talk and talk and talk, you know, and ask so many questions and answer these questions and try this and that. And that was a really bonus because we had time for it.
That's great.
And of course, we tried to go deep in a character. And when you understand the character, you know what to do. That's all.
It's true. I'm directing this play right now at Rollins College, and we're on Zoom for the first week, and we're going through it with a cast of 12, line by line by line. What are they saying? What is their intention? And it's going to make a difference when we start blocking next week. That these young women really understand these characters. So there's something to be said for some Zoom rehearsals.
Yeah, Zoom rehearsals really, really helped us. And of course, stage, you cannot beat the stage, but they were prepared and I prepared myself for stage, and it was much easier process for us when we started blocking.
Mark, Can you run downstairs and push the house out so that Arlene can see it?
What?
Do you want me to?
Or what? Yeah, well, help him. Yes, please. I just
Just
like
revealing so much.
Oh, I see the bench. I see the bench over
there's
there.
the bench. Yes. Hang on.
Recognize that play anywhere.
There you go. Okay, there's Mark already downstairs. Okay. Boop, boop, boop. Here comes the house.
Oh my! Oh, you have an actual set. Wow.
Oh, we have an actual set builder who would not do anything but
Wow. How cute.
with curtains and a little. Emily Rose, go through the little door. Go through the little screen door.
My shoe came off.
Oh, okay. Put your shoe back on first.
Problem lately, so.
Oh, that's so cute. That's great.
There we go. Okay, just a little taste there.
Thank you. Oh, what fun to see that. That's
Oh.
just lovely.
Okay.
What size is your theater? Was it last year, last March?
We have a hundred.
We
Go
have 175 seats in the theater, and we love our theater so much, and we have so many wonderful volunteers who are doing such a hard work, and our productions are, I can say, very high quality productions. And I'm very proud of our theater, and I'm very proud of everybody who works on the theater. And now I just cannot thank enough everybody who works on this production. Even in this difficult time, we have a full team of wonderful people who are doing everything to have this production successful. And it will be successful, I promise.
When this is our 63rd season as an all volunteer community theater. We're the only one in Southern California that is completely volunteer. Nobody gets paid, all the way from the board all the way down to the stage manager. Sorry, Mark.
Wow. And even the cat behind you.
Yes, even Lily, she gets no money. All right, Rob.
This is great. A bunch of people doing theater because they love it. That's wonderful.
That's what we have.
That's great.
Robin, any more questions from our Facebook people?
Well, we can pose the question one more time before we call it a night. So anyone out there on Facebook, if you have a question, send it now or forever hold your peace.
No?
Emma Rose? Emily Rose, I keep saying, sorry.
Same thing, pretty much. I was wondering, was this therapeutic for you to write these stories?
Wow. Therapeutic. It was satisfying, and it's been my mother never got to see it, but my dad did, and saw the off-Broadway opening night and stuff. So it's been very satisfying, and also to have put a sweet play out in the world. You know, a lot of people are writing edgy, angry things, and to put a play out in the world that is about a gentler time, about people trying to be the best they can, and looking for love. That means something to me.
Yes,
I think we're good on Facebook, Beth, as far as all questions.
Okay, Mark, did you have another question?
Yes.
Okay.
What Emily asked
Go
What-
ahead, Mark.
what Emily asked earlier and what Emily asked just now brought something to mind for me. So as I'm standing on the side of the stage and watching them perform, it struck me that, without giving anything away, how easily and intimately the conversation started and flowed for strangers. And when I think of strangers, there's always this awkward reaching, but there was none of that between them. How did you come up with that?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
In the beginning of the play, their first meeting,
Yes.
but they're speaking as if they're already familiar with each other, and I'm just wondering how.
Well, I don't know how it's directed, but
I see.
she's a woman in the 1940s, so she grew up in the Depression off of Highway 25 in Corbin, Kentucky, which Corbin being a railroad town, there were a lot of hobos going along. This is based on my mother's experience, going along the main road there. And so she would have grown up to be frightened of strangers. And also she's also, the play for me is about overcoming prejudice. And for her to find true happiness, she has to overcome any number of prejudices. One, his father, she thinks, is a drinker. Two, he's in the service or getting out of service, and she's just been jilted by a serviceman. She talks about foreigners because she just hasn't experienced much beyond her small world. So she has so many prejudices. And the last one that she overcomes is related to the epilepsy, but we won't go there. So for me, in the beginning, he has to win her over. He has to charm her. I don't think it's easy for them to talk at first. I think he has to pull it out of her because she doesn't want to talk to a stranger, and certainly not to a strange man, and as upset as she is. So I think, he probably has to work pretty hard. And at one point he starts to give up and go sit elsewhere on the train. So I may be totally going against the way this play is directed. So I have not, the audience out there listening to this should know that I've not been privy to any rehearsals. But my favorite presentations of the first scene are if she really makes it hard for him to start talking, to open up to him.
Thank you.
So I totally messed you guys up.
No, absolutely
No, not at all.
Am I confirming what you're already doing?
I have my vision, and I shared my vision with my actors, and they agreed, and we're doing what we think that's right.
Okay.
And
I saw a production where in the third scene they were making out and rolling around on the floor, and I that was opening night, and the director said, well, what'd you think? And I go, well, it's 1940. And her parents are on the other side of the door and might come out at any moment. So what do you think? And he realized, and I knew it was something that come out of the rehearsal, that they were, that they were just kind of going with it, and he kept it in. And then after we talked, he goes, oh, you're right. We got to take that out. Yeah. I saw a production in Barcelona where they had two other characters come on and do interpretive dance. The actors would freeze, and these dancers would come on, and they were dancing the emotions that the characters could not reveal to each other, and it actually worked in a kind of Euro version of the play. So I've seen a lot of different versions, but I think she's shy in the beginning, and I think she's cautious, and if they start talking to each other really quickly, easily, then where's the conflict? But that's my interpretation, and maybe the text doesn't support that in the way it should.
No, I was about to chime in. I definitely think the text. I was going to say, I think the text supports exactly what your interpretation is, and I like to think that's what we've been doing. But yeah, I know Elena had expressed a story from her own experience called what is it? Train talks? Is that what?
Yes.
Train talks, train conversations, and it put things into perspective on how if people are just meeting each other for the first time on a train, they might be more inclined to share more with another person, knowing that they might never see that person again.
Well, I think that certainly comes up later in the scene. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. I agree.
And she does confess quite a bit that, what she talks about what happened to her in California. Yeah. I think that's really wise. Yeah.
I just want to say that I'm so glad that Conejo Players is doing this play right now because, yes, it's 1940s, but it's a difficult time right now too. And I always thought that this piece of art will give people hope that even during such a difficult times for country and people, there is always love and compassion and friendship.
Right.
And I think it's very, very important right now for all of us.
I agree. And I hope what it does for your audience is for 90 minutes, they forget where they are and they completely get on that train with you all and take that journey. And I'm sure it'll make them laugh. And we all need to laugh right now.
Yes. Yes, we do need love.
All right. Well, Robin, no more questions? Nope. Okay. Arlene, thank you so much for joining us. It was just lovely to meet you.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, and please watch our show. Watch your show.
I think I can make that Sunday one.
Sunday. Okay. Remember, it's Pacific Standard Time.
Right. Yeah.
Cool.
So
All right.
what time is it Pacific?
It's 2:00 our time.
It's a matinee.
It's a matinee. Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, that makes it easier.
Okay.
Yeah. Are we still on Facebook Live?
No, if I'll send you the link and then it'll send you all everything you need.
Are people still watching us right now? Are we?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
people are still watching us. We haven't
Yes.
signed off yet officially.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everybody that supports this theater company. Thank you for your time, your talent, your money, and especially right now, the arts need support because where would we be without the arts? And everybody's been enjoying Netflix. That's been getting us through. And people forget where those actors have come from. And if we don't support the arts in schools and in communities, we're just not going to have them. And what would we have done over the last 10 months without the arts? Thank you all for continuing to do theater, and thanks for doing Last Train to Nibroc.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Writing this beautiful play. We're so appreciate your talent and your art. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Well, it's 10:30 my time.